We're going to start with your WCW days. Brad Peterson says, hello, sir. Hope you are well. I was wondering if you could tell me what your favorite match and storyline in WCW was. Thank you.
To do with me? My favorite storyline?
Yes, yours.
I don't really think I had one. I'm sorry.
Did you not enjoy your time there?
No, not at all. I think I wish it could have been better. No. It's probably one of the biggest highlights of my career. I met my idol. I wrestled my idol, and we became tag team champions for all of 36 hours. Great Muta. Yeah,
okay.
that was.
That made it worth it.
Yeah, it might have not been the greatest storyline. I don't think they had any storylines. But I think that moment was probably one of the cooler things in my career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sergey from Russia asks us, can you compare teaming up with ICP and the Misfits?
I dated this girl from Russia when I was living in Italy. She was so fucking hot.
Might be Sergey's sister.
I wish it was. Sergey, if that's your sister, man, hook a brother up. I was a musician before I became a wrestler. And I was a fan of ICP's because Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols played on their album, and I'm obviously a fan, and I just started reading about them, and of course the Misfits. That's a big part of the whole culture that I grew up with, you know, the punk rock thing. And I just had this concept. I kind of tried to look at WCW, and everybody was like these big muscle guys, and everybody's into pro wrestling. I was like, I don't think they understand how many rock and roll people, musicians included, like pro wrestling. And I tried to get into their heads, why don't you do something different with me? This vampire character, this whole thing, it's from music. I tried to explain and explain and explain, and they said it would never work.
Who are you talking to? Who's in creative?
The Office. You know, J.J. Dillon was in there, and Craig Lathers, I think, was there. Just anybody who would listen to me. And I just kept trying to tell them, why don't you bring in another veneer of fans to this product that's kind of stale? And they were like, oh, it's stale. You know, WCW. I was like, I'm telling you, this is something different. I said, and they said, well, you're this new guy from Mexico. So, well, actually, I'm from Canada, and I've been doing this for 26 years. I kind of have an idea for you. And I said, it's worked everywhere else in the world. Try it here. And they just didn't get it. But who would have ever thought that you would see the Misfits or ICP and their fans involved in pro wrestling? I just thought it's a given, and it was awesome for me.
Do you enjoy working with one more than the other, ICP or Misfits?
Well, ICP and myself, it's a brotherhood. It's actually family, very, very close friends. The Misfits, they had their issues since the start of their career. They've always been a controversial band fighting within, and there was just some strange things going on there, and I became really good friends with Doyle. I'm still friends with Michael Graves. I haven't spoken to Jerry since then. Obviously, Chud, me and him, the drummer, we're friends. As a fan, I marked out for the Misfits, and so it was just different, and I was really protective of them because Jerry was really gung-ho about getting into the wrestling business, and I tried to make sure he didn't get killed. And ICP were actually, they're probably the two biggest wrestling fans I know in the planet.
Yeah, we had them here. They're very knowledgeable and the real deal.
Yeah, the real deal, man. And it's just two different things. It's just like, Now,
if Jay loses too much weight, is this going to hurt his on-screen character?
He's lost 100 pounds.
Exactly.
And he looks amazing. He's healthy. I think, thanks to that, ICP is going to once again return to where they were. It's great. He looks amazing, and I'm so proud of him.
Diet Fago, probably. It probably took the sugar out. Let's go to Paul.
You just.
Paul's from Geelong, Australia.
You just had to go there, didn't you?
Geelong, Australia, for Christ's sakes. Mr. Vampiro, I enjoyed your WCW career, in particular your time as part of the Dark Carnival teaming with the Great Muta. Could you please share any wisdom Muta passed on to you, as his style is and was quite unique and in some ways similar to yours at the time? Cheers.
Muta, just a commitment to the game. Miserable bastard, like all of us are in the wrestling business, complaining about every single thing. But, it's like a drug addiction. You want to kick it, but it loves you and you love it back. He's just a real deal, man. He was like the first heavyweight tall guy who started being aerial. So he didn't really say much, you know, because, you know, you fucking American guys. You know, his English was kind of broken, but he just watching him, you kind of get in awe, right? Just his quickness and his snaps and all that jittery. That's where I got that from. So he didn't really say much. I just kind of, I was like,
from watching him,
you want me to carry your bag or something, man? Because, you know, like, you're Muta. And he was like, you know, fuck off, kid. And I was like, okay. And then, you know, I was a fan, you know.
He wouldn't even let you be a young boy for him.
Oh, he would paint my face, and he would paint, like, you know, suck my dick into Japanese on my face and stuff. And, you know, we had fun, man. It was really cool.
Pog Dog says, oh, no, I'm sorry, Emerson Winter from the Wrestling Outsiders podcast. Is it true that you and Muta got the WCW tag team titles because Chronic refused to put Rey Mysterio and Hoovy over for the belts? And the two of you didn't care as much, no?
I had no idea about that.
One of those internet rumors. Pog Dog, hey Vamp, big fan, loved your work in WCW, and I know you worked a lot with him, but why was the Kiss Demon so whack? Were there bigger plans for him? Gene Simmons from Kiss certainly would have never approved of this if he knew the Demon would just be a jobber.
Wow. You know, I can go so many ways with this question. When Kiss came to Las Vegas and they played playback, everybody was kind of like, ugh. You know, that's Kiss. And they did playback. So that kind of really, everybody was kind of like, oh man, how fucking much did that suck? And I think Dale Torborg never got a fair shake. He was just, he's a good soul. He's a good guy. And I just don't think another thing, man, you got fucking Kiss. You got Gene Simmons giving you that personality when Kiss was hot. And WCW just didn't get how important rock and roll is in the wrestling world. And they didn't get it, man. They just didn't get it. I really think they dropped the ball with him.
Okay.
As much as I'm not a big fan of Kiss. As much as I just was...
You don't give them any props for the whole makeup thing? Because you're talking about the Misfits and stuff. And it kind of is born out of that.
Yeah, sure. Of course I do. But when you kind of... It's like one of those things when you meet your idols and you're kind of like, oh, man.
Oh, because they were dicks.
It's like, I met Paul Stanley when I was working as a doorman in L.A., and I was a Kiss fan when I was young, you know, like everybody else was. Yeah. You know, Kiss Alive 2, you know, the Kiss Army, the whole thing. And a Vampire, I was like, holy fuck, man, how cool was that? And I was working, he came in with this girl at a party, and I was like, hey, man, are you really who I think you are? And he just looked at me and he was like, I'm exactly who you... And I was like, well, I thought you were a fucking fag, dude. That's why I'm just asking, man, because I wasn't going to let you in. And I was like, man, fuck you, dude. He was such a dick. And it just like, ever since then, it was kind of like, yeah, you know, Kiss, fuck you. And I was like, okay, they're going to play live. We'll see it. They played playback. Dude, it was the fucking most disappointing thing you can ever think of. And it was just brutal. And you couldn't talk to them. You weren't allowed to walk within 40 feet of them. You had to go around them. It was like, man, fuck these fucking guys, you know?
What about Gene? Did you interact with Gene?
No, that was him. He's a bitch, dude. He was like, fuck all you guys, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jason Worthing, how was Steve Williams to work with in his later days in WCW?
Man, rest in peace. You know, Steve Williams is I love Steve Williams, man, and I was a fan of his. And then, you know, Steve took me to Japan with him, and we were partners, and I wrestled against him, and he made sure I did okay in all Japan. You know, I miss him, and it's really sad that he had to go. But they didn't get him either, man. And he used to come in. People were scared of him. He'd fuck you up, you know. And Terry Taylor really respected him. He said, you know, I don't want this to affect you in Japan. You think you can do this? You can help these guys out. And Steve was just like fucking, you know, he was just a different mindset. You know, in WCW, everybody was all you know, looking in the mirror and putting oil on and really into their fame and contracts. And Steve was just this fucking guy who was like, let's fight, let's fucking break, you know, Steve Williams. And it's just, I loved him to death, man. And I was like, Steve, hey, man, I'm really sorry they're sticking me with you, brother. I know who you are. I said, I'll do whatever you want. You want to do those suplexes off the ropes and all that kind of stuff? With me, no problem. I ain't like those guys. Don't even mix me in with that. And since then, you know, we traveled a bit together, and shit, he's just sorely missed in this business. Yeah. Guys like him, yeah.
Caleb Randall, did you and the Misfits have a falling out? You rarely talk about your brief alliance with the Misfits, and I've heard rumors and such, but I want to know from the man himself what exactly happened between you and the Misfits. If nothing happened, do you still keep in touch with them?
Yeah, I keep in touch with Michael Graves. It wasn't really a falling out. Yes, but it wasn't between me and them. The band had issues, And Jerry Only, God bless him, wasn't a wrestling guy, and he wanted to be a pro wrestler. He's a New York City kid, you know, from Lodi, New Jersey, a punk rocker, rock and roll guy. And you walk into, you know, the redneck area of wrestling, which would be Atlanta and, you know, all those kind of people, right? And that's not speaking bad. It's just a different fucking mentality. Those guys who were running WCW, they were good old boys. And you got a 45-year-old guy coming in with eyeliner and his hair all fucked up and tights and black this and that and heavy metal and punk rock. They didn't get it. And obviously Doyle fell in love and married Randy Savage's girl. So there were some things that happened there. And it just kind of imploded on itself. You know, Jerry just wouldn't leave them alone. He would call them all the time. They would get mad at me. It was starting to affect them booking me, and it was just kind of like...
Yeah, how did you get caught in the middle of that? I mean, that seems like a problem between them and the organization.
Well, because they were like, Vamp, what the fuck did you bring these guys here for? Oh. And I was like, I don't know.
Smitty T. Mockingbird.
But there ain't no problems, man.
Okay.
It's all good.
You want another cocktail?
I've had 36 in the last 40 hours, so I'm good.